Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I want to thank everybody for tuning back in. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite way to fish and one of my favorite baits to fish with, especially use it as a search bait covering water, and that is a square bill crankbait. Before I get started, I'd ask that if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're checking out the videos on a regular basis, I'd ask that you consider subscribing and help the channel grow. If you have subscribed, I want to thank you for your comments and for all the likes on the videos. It's really cool to see, and the channel is growing, and I'm hoping I can continue putting out videos that'll keep bringing you guys back. So when the video's done, if you would, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Square bill crankbaits. To me, that's one of the #1 search baits that there is in bass fishing. When I get to a new body of water, or when I get to a body of water I have not fished in some time, and I'm not real sure how things are, how the fishing has been, or I get there and I'm expecting one watercolor and see another. If I'm just not sure where to start, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to start throwing a square bill. In the earlier part of the year, when the water temperature is below 55, I'll usually crank a square bill with a 5/4 to 1 reel. Once it gets above 55, I pretty much try to stick to 6/3 to 1, 6/8 to 1 reels. You can cover water so quickly and efficiently with a square bill crankbait. For covering 6 foot of water or less, my opinion, I don't think there's a bait better than a square bill. You put that trolling motor down, you crank it up, and you just go. And you look for as much hard cover as you can find. Square bill is not as efficient and is not as good a choice to me around grass and vegetation. You may be able to fish it some around pads, around pad stems, that kind of thing. But where a square bill shines, in my opinion, is around hard cover. Riprap, rocks, natural rocks, pea gravel, laydowns, dock post, seawalls, even boat ramps. All those things are cover that I target when I'm throwing a square bill. If I'm fishing a familiar body of water and I have a lot of waypoints and a lot of areas that I like to fish, and I know where this kind of cover is, if there's a square bill bite going on, I'll tie on 2 or 3 of my favorite colors, and I'll just hit as much of that hard cover as I can hit. One other key is, obviously, as in any time you're bass fishing, is looking for bait. Hard cover and bait are 2 of the biggest things. Watercolor. As far as the watercolor goes, now I've had several people ask me in my videos if I could start discussing what kind of color and what leads to my color choice in the rivers, tannic water, dingy water, compared to clear water, like a lot of the lakes in the region, in the area where I fish. If I'm in a river and I'm fishing tannic, dirty water, a lot of times I'm going to go with a chartreuse black, chartreuse brown back colored bait. You want something, especially in tannic water. Let's talk about that for a second. In tannic water, the fish can see better than you think they can. There's a difference between tannic water and muddy water. Tannic water is just a brown tea color, and if you're familiar with it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it can still be clear to the point where you can see a foot, 2 foot down into the water. It's just got a brown tint to it. Chartreuse, like I said, chartreuse with a black back or brown back. That's a popular choice and a color I go to. A color I have a lot of luck with in a lot of rivers, and sometimes these color crankbaits can be hard to find, is a gold crankbait. Now this is gold shad, and this is a Bass Pro Shops XPS square bill. I throw these a lot. They're pretty inexpensive, but they hold up well. But sometimes Bass Pro, man, they'll come out with a good color and then they'll discontinue that thing on you in a heartbeat. And that kind of stinks, because They've got a couple of colors that I've really grown to like and have been successful with, but out of nowhere, they just stopped selling it, stopped making it, you know. This is one of those colors. Whenever you see this, buy as many of them as you can. It's gold on the sides. It's almost got a little chrome right there on the sides at the top. Then it gets to a flatter gold, and it's got a white belly. This is a really good color in any river. Tannic water, it's a good color. As far as the dingy water and stuff like that, when you get the muddy water, chartreuse and blackback, I mean, it's pretty universal that that's a color you go to. This is another color I'll throw in the river a lot of times. And this is chartreuse with a little bit of a blue back to it. Tannic water, muddy water, dirty water. If your water is real muddy and just dirty, not tannic, but dirty water, you know, especially in the spring, you know, everyone's throwing your reds and even your brown and orange. In your rivers, that's the colors that I tend to lean to the most when I'm faced with tannic water, muddy or dirty water. In the lakes, when you're fishing clear water, you know, you'll go a lot more with your natural colors. This is almost like a clear with a green back, olive back, and chartreuse side. That's a Strike King. This is another one of the Bass Pro Shops XPS square bills, chrome shad. Man, at Kerr and Gaston, this is a good color. Really, really good color. This is a BX Brat, the 6-foot olive shad. That's a good color. This is a Black Label Rec Junior, and that's just a shad pattern, a little scale on it. And this is a little 6 cents 1.0 square bill. When you got real small bait fish, several companies make a little 1.0 square bill now. And this one is cool because it's got a weight transfer system in it, and you can throw this little booger a mile. This is a good little bait when there's a lot of small bait. I can't tell you right off the top of my head, and I should have looked it up. If somebody asks, I'll put it in the comments what the exact model of this bait is. But this is a good little bait when they're on small bait fish. I throw a lot of the 1.5s and the 2.5s. It just depends on the situation and the bait. And a lot of times I'll throw the 1.5 if I get a limit, and then I'll go up to the 2.5 to try to get a bigger fish. This is a 2.5 in the chrome shad. This is a Lucky Strike, and I don't know if they still make these. This is the old Rick Clun 2.5. It's got his signature on the top. This has been a good bait over the years. Caught a lot of fish with this. And this is a 6 cents square bill, purple back, chartreuse, pearl belly. The 1.5, the 2.5, the 1.0, and they make square bills now that are even bigger than these. These are the ones that when I'm covering water and I'm searching, those are the baits and the colors that I use according to whether it's clear water, stained, muddy, tannic, whatever it may be. One thing that's very, very important when you're fishing with a square bill, and this is important with other baits too. When you're a shallow water fisherman, there has to be some aggressiveness to the way that you fish. And what I mean is this: you cannot be scared to throw that crankbait in places that most people ain't gonna put one. You've got to be aggressive with your casting and not passive. You've got to attack the cover. You've got to put that bait right in the center of where the cover, whether it's a laydown, whether it's riprap, whether it's rocks, wherever that cover is the heaviest, a lot of times that's where that fish is going to be laying. And you've got to get the mindset that if I get hung up, I just got to go get it. But you can't fish passive when you're trying to fish a square bill crankbait. I believe you've got to have an aggressive mentality, and you've got to put that bait. If you come to a lay down, you're going to hit the left side a couple of times, every branch, or as many of them as you can hit. And then you're going to take that crankbait and you're going to put it right in the middle of that laydown, right in the thickest part of that cover, and you're going to maneuver it through. And you'd be surprised how good a square bill is. Probably the best crankbait because of that square lip. When that thing hits a limb, that square bill, what it does is it deflects and lets that bait come across. That's what the design of this lip is meant to be for. A lot of your other crankbaits don't have that same design, and they aren't going to come through cover the same. Square bill's like a four-wheel drive. You can put that thing in there and you can get it through that cover. Now sometimes you got to maneuver, change speeds, change the angle of your rod, but that fish, a lot of times, he ain't going to strike, or she's not going to strike until that fish, you hit that zone where that fish doesn't want that bait to be. And a lot of times, more times than not, that's the middle of the cover, the thickest part of it. Something else you got to do is, a lot of times with a crankbait, make several casts. Don't just hit left side, right side, down the middle and go. If you're trying to, if you're just out fishing, I know sometimes we only get a day a week, 2 days a week to fish. If you got the mentality that you're just out there to have a good time, catch a few fish, maybe that's what you'll decide to do. If you're somebody that's preparing or getting ready for a derby or a tournament, sometimes it's going to take 5, 6, 7 casts to the same piece of cover to get that fish to bite. You got to keep that in mind. That's another part of being aggressive when you're fishing this bait. And my dogs are barking, so that's what you hear in the background. So be aggressive and attack the cover. You're trying to get reaction strikes. 9 times out of 10 with a square bill, that's what you're after, reaction bite. Bud. Sorry about that. Leave it. Let's talk for a second about pressure and rattling versus non-rattling baits. The last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed that I've gotten a lot more strikes and I'll have a lot more success with non-rattling baits. Now that may be the opposite of other people's opinion, I don't know. I think a lot of that's got to do with pressure, because I feel like there's more pressure on the bodies of water now that I fish, and that most of us fish, than there's ever been. Especially on the weekends. How many times have you been fishing on a Wednesday or Thursday or Monday? You go out there, aren't nowhere near as many boats on the lake, river, you can throw and just catch a good number of fish and just have a great day. You get out there on Saturday, you hit those same spots and you swear there ain't a fish in there, in the lake or in the river. There is a thing, and this is all according to your own situations and your days on the water and your circumstances, but there is a thing where Saturday and Sunday fishing's tougher. Those fish feel the pressure. They know when more boats are on the water, they know when more people are out there, and they know when more people are trying to catch them. They can feel it. I really believe that. Anything you can do to put it in your favor to draw an extra bite or two is a big deal, especially if you're in a derby. Even if you ain't in a derby, you're just trying your 1 day a week. The 1 day you get to go fishing, you want to put some in the boat. Do things that'll put the odds in your favor. A non-rattling bait in clear water and in real heavy pressure, I have much more success with a non-rattling square bill than I do one that's got a big knock in it. I know this 6 cents got a good knock in it. I may use that in tannic water. I may use it in dirty water. I'm not going to use it in clear water when there's a lot of pressure. My choice is always going to be the non-rattling bait. When you go to fish stained, tannic, dirty water, a rattling bait may be more conducive to that. And let me show you one other thing. I didn't go over this a while ago as far as color goes. Bluegill are spawning. get you a bluegill colored square bill. And even if you know they're spawning but you don't see any around, toss that thing around. When they're bluegill are spawning, that little square bill, any kind of square bill with a bluegill color pattern on it is good. When you're retrieving your baits, if you're not around cover, I purposely try to fish stretches where I know there's a lot of cover. If you're just fishing along and you've went through some laydowns now and you got a 50, 75 yard stretch with not a lot of cover on it, stop and go you retrieve. Impart as much action in that bait as you can till you get to where you can get that bait to bounce and deflect off cover. Stop and go it. Twitch your rod tip. Change your rod angle. Anything you can do to impart action. You're always trying to get a reaction strike, and that's one of the benefits and the things about a square bill crankbait. So impart any action you can. Don't forget to make multiple casts to good looking cover. If you get up on the spot and you know what I'm talking about and you look at it, you say, man, there's got to be a fish there. And you make 2 or 3 casts and nothing happens. Sometimes that bite comes on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, even the 10th cast. And a lot of times it's a good fish. Big fish don't get big by jumping all over something the first time they see it. There's times of the year they'll be that way. But we done went through the spawn, post-spawn, heading into summer. Those fish have been fished for, seen all kinds of pressure, been beat on, went through the whole deal with spawning and all that. And now they're just getting back to where they're feeling good again. And sometimes they are going to be a little bit more cautious and they're going to be a little bit less willing to kamikaze a bait. So you need to remember that when you're fishing. Line, I always crank with 12-pound mono, but I will go to 15 on a square bill, especially if I know that the cover calls for it. If the cover's a lot, if I'm fishing around a lot of natural rock, if I'm fishing that curve, and I know I'm going to be fishing a lot of rock, whether it be riprap, boat ramps, natural rock, the boulders, pea gravel, whatever it is, I will go to 15 if I feel like I need to. Most time I use 12. Like I said, 5:4 to 1 gear ratio. When the water's cooler, as it gets warmer, I'll go to 6:3 to 1, 6:8 to 1. I will go back to 5:4 to 1 though, at times, if the pressure, and like I said, I feel like it's affecting the fish. And sometimes I'll go and speed it up. You kind of gotta pick your way through those decisions and make them as you go along. Again, square bill is to me one of the best search baits that there is. I've gone over the colors, rattling, non-rattling, what I throw them on. You know, hopefully this will be something that'll help you catch more fish. Square bill crankbait is one of my favorite tools to search on a new lake, new river, new body of water, somewhere I haven't been to in quite some time. And something else I'll do if I'm fishing and I've just been an hour or so jumping spot to spot, hitting as many different areas as I can, and I'm not feeling it, not getting nothing going. I got a lot of confidence in the square bill. I'll put it in my hand and I'll just go. Especially if I'm having a hard time in between bites, not being able to quite figure out what these fish are on or what the fish are doing. I'll put it in my hand and I will just go and hit as much hard cover with it as I can. So again, I hope this helps you guys out. I hope it helps you catch more fish. And a square bill is something you can fish anywhere. You can fish it in a pond. You can fish it in a river, a lake, a big reservoir, small body of water. It doesn't matter. It's something that will get you reaction bites, and it's something that you need to really put some time in with. And I think you'll be surprised with the results if you put a little bit of work into it and put a little time in with the bait. So again, I hope this helps. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I ask that you please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep putting out stuff, hoping that it's going to be something that'll click or help you catch more fish and enjoy your time on the water. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.